Caitlin Clark, remember that girl, that superstar playing for Iowa that ended up going to the Final Four? She's got one of the hottest selling jerseys in sports, y'all, according to Fanatics, led by the one and only Michael Rubin. The deal is the richest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player. She deserves it!
Caitlin Clark is making waves in women's basketball, breaking NCAA scoring records left and right, and she's become the talk of the town. It feels like she burst onto the scene and instantly became the most exciting name in the sport. And get this, Nike just signed her for a whopping $28 million deal. That's right, $28 million. But here's the strange part. Where's her signature shoe? With all that cash and buzz, you'd expect to see Caitlin Clark sneakers everywhere. But there's nothing yet. And believe me, there's much more to this situation than just a delay in footwear. Behind the scenes, there's a major showdown happening among top players in sports marketing, all trying to figure out how to best handle Clark's rise. It's like a strategic game of chess, but instead of pieces like pawns and knights, we've got shoes and contracts, with the future of women's sports marketing hanging in the balance. Now, picture yourself at Nike. You've got the most promising rookie in years, yet you're hesitating to fully support her. Why? Because there's an MVP in the league who still hasn't received her own signature shoe. How do you navigate this without stepping on anyone's toes? It's like Nike is caught in a high-stakes basketball chess match.
Clark now has an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that will include her own signature shoe. Caitlin Clark continues to set the bar when it comes to her impact on female athletics. Go out there, compete with her, try to bust her up if you want to, and all of that stuff. Just don't hate on the acclaim that she's getting.
On one hand, you have Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who's setting the court on fire. On the other hand, there's A'ja Wilson, the WNBA MVP who has been dominating the league. Both are phenomenal athletes, but only one can get their signature shoe first. It's a tough call. You'd expect Nike to rush out Clark's shoe, especially after signing her to a $28 million deal. But here's the twist. They're holding back. Why? It all comes down to balance. Launching Clark's shoe before Wilson's could stir up some serious drama within the Nike family. They find themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. They want to take advantage of Clark's immense popularity, but they can't overlook Wilson's status as the reigning MVP. It's a tricky situation, and Nike is doing its best to avoid any missteps. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. An insider revealed that Nike's strategy has shifted. They used to make bold, decisive moves. Remember the just do it days? Now, it feels more like just think about it. They're so focused on managing public perception that they're playing it incredibly safe. This cautious approach isn't just about Clark and Wilson. It's reshaping how brands engage with rising stars in women's sports. Everyone's watching to see how Nike navigates this, and you can bet other companies are taking notes. If Nike gets this right, they could establish a new standard for marketing female athletes. But if they mess it up, it could lead to a major PR disaster. That's why they're treading carefully. However, this cautiousness might be hindering women's sports. Imagine if Nike just went for it and released Clark's shoe, only to have it sell out instantly. That could open the doors for more signature shoes, more endorsements, and increased visibility for the WNBA as a whole. This isn't just about shoes anymore. It's about the future of women's sports marketing. Nike's decision could have a monumental impact on every female athlete out there. Will they play it safe or take a risk? Either way, the outcome will be significant. Now, consider why only 5 WNBA players have signature shoes. 5 in the entire league. That's fewer than the starting lineup of a single team. How is this possible in 2024? It's like women's basketball is stuck in the Stone Age when it comes to footwear. But here's where it gets exciting. Caitlin Clark's shoe could change everything. We're not just talking about another unisex model with a woman's name on it. This could be a game changer. Imagine a basketball shoe designed specifically for a woman's foot. It's not just about aesthetics. It's about enhancing performance. It's surprising to realize that most women's basketball shoes are essentially just smaller versions of men's shoes. However, women's feet aren't merely smaller versions of men's feet. They have a different shape. So why do we expect women to perform at their best in shoes that weren't designed for them? That's where Clark's shoe could make a significant difference. If Nike gets this right, they could establish a brand new standard for women's basketball footwear. We're talking about shoes that fit better, feel better, and might even help reduce the risk of injuries. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. This could have positive implications for every woman on the court. Plus, the demand is certainly there. When Clark was drafted, her jersey sold out in no time. People are eager for Clark merchandise. If her shoe is successful, it could pave the way for more signature shoes in the WNBA, finally creating a market that truly caters to women basketball players. But this goes beyond just selling shoes. Clark's signature shoe could symbolize growth in women's basketball, sending a message that says, "We see you, we value you, and we're creating products specifically for you." That's a significant step for a sport that has often been viewed as an afterthought. Consider the impact this could have on young girls who play basketball. They wouldn't just be dreaming of playing in the WNBA. They'd be envisioning a future where they have their own signature shoe. This is about representation, inspiration, and demonstrating that women's basketball is a serious market. What's happening in the WNBA right now is absolutely wild. Sophie Cunningham, who plays with Diana Taurasi on the Phoenix Mercury, recently made some eye-popping comments about Caitlin Clark that are leaving people stunned. And believe it or not, that's just scratching the surface. Caitlin Clark isn't just putting up numbers on the court. She's changing the game itself. She's been smashing records, pulling off impossible plays, and shaking up the Indiana Fever in ways no one saw coming. And get this, some of the seasoned veterans are starting to feel a bit envious. Yep, the rookie is making waves so big that it's ruffling the feathers of some long-standing stars. But hold on, let's take a closer look at what Cunningham said that's got everyone buzzing. In a recent interview, she dropped some serious thoughts on Caitlin Clark.
But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it. And I'm a huge fan, and I never say that, but I think it's fun what she's doing.
Can you believe what this means? A veteran player who shares the court with the iconic Diana Taurasi is giving major props to a rookie. That's not something you see every day in the WNBA. But Sophie didn't stop there. She had more to say.
When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it and you might be a little jealous. So
Sophie just dropped a truth bomb on anyone throwing shade at Caitlin Clark's success and the other rookies in the league. She's basically saying that if you're not on board with how the WNBA is growing, then the issue might be with you. But why is Sophie, an established player, going all out to defend Clark and the rookies? Simple. It's all about the impact. Clark isn't just playing great basketball. She's completely changing how people view the WNBA. Since she stepped into the league, viewership has exploded. Games that used to have empty seats are now packed. People aren't just watching Indiana Fever games, they're buying tickets, jerseys, and buzzing about the WNBA on social media like never before. And here's the kicker. Clark is pulling all this off as a rookie. She didn't need years to adjust or build a fan base. She came in and started dominating right away. That's why Sophie and other savvy players are seeing that Clark's success is tied to the success of the league itself. In just the last 5 games, Clark's been on fire, averaging 22.6 points, 8.4 assists, and 4.8 rebounds. But that's not all. She's shooting 48.1% from the field and an impressive 44.4% from beyond the arc. These aren't just good numbers for a rookie, they're elite, even for seasoned pros. And what's most incredible is that she's not just stacking up stats for herself, she's lifting the entire team. With Clark on the court, the Fever have gone from barely scraping by to becoming serious title contenders. Oh, and that record for most points generated in a WNBA season? Clark is on track to break it. She's already ranked among the top 3 rookies of all time for total points, and the season's not even over. But it's not just about scoring. Clark is redefining what it means to be a point guard in this league. Her assists aren't just routine passes, they're jaw-dropping plays. She's seeing and creating opportunities that leave even the commentators speechless. And here's the wild part. She's doing all of this against defenses that are built specifically to shut her down. Entire teams are shifting their strategies just to contain Caitlin Clark, but she's still out there dominating. That's why veterans like Sophie Cunningham are so impressed. Clark isn't just excelling, she's changing the entire game. She's pushing teams and players to evolve, and in doing so, she's raising the level of competition across the WNBA. Let's dive into something Cunningham brought up that's been stirring the pot in the league: the jealousy and criticism aimed at Caitlin Clark. Sounds crazy, right? A rookie making such a huge impact that it's got veterans feeling envious. But that's exactly what's happening. Some players, and even some fans, are complaining about all the attention Clark's getting, saying it's overhyped or that she's stealing the spotlight from more experienced players. But let's be real, this is just plain jealousy. As Sophie Cunningham wisely pointed out, those who are grumbling about the attention Clark is bringing to the league are missing out on the bigger picture and maybe feeling a bit envious. She's absolutely right. Clark's success doesn't take away from any other player's value. In fact, the more attention the WNBA gets, the better it is for everyone. More fans mean more revenue, which can lead to higher salaries, better conditions, and more opportunities for all players. Clark is literally expanding the league's market. She's attracting new fans, people who might never have watched a WNBA game before. And once they're hooked, they're not just watching Clark, they're getting introduced to all the incredible talent the league has to offer. That's why smart players like Cunningham are embracing the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. They understand that when one player shines, it benefits the whole league. Clark's success is lifting the WNBA to new heights, and that's good for everyone. Today, we've got some serious drama to break down. The situation between Caitlin Clark and a Connecticut Sun fan has been leaked, and now, Teresa Weatherspoon is the latest coach to lose her job. Let's dive in. First up, let's talk about Caitlin Clark and what went down at the Connecticut Sun game. Even though the Fever season is over and Clark's off the court, the drama isn't cooling down. A lot of WNBA veterans and players are blaming Caitlin Clark's fan base for all the hate that's been going around. But come on, can we really put all of this on Clark's fans? Did you see what happened at the Sun game? It wasn't just a random fan. This guy had media credentials and was harassing Clark from the front row. The whole incident got leaked online, and now we've got more details to unpack. Clark ended up calling out the fan to security after he apparently crossed a line. Fans at the game said the guy didn't just insult her, he allegedly wished she'd fall and break her neck. Then, he went back to his seat and bragged about it to other Sun fans. More people who were there have come forward, saying they overheard some of his comments, and it sounds pretty bad. This situation has sparked a lot of debate online, and there are even rumors that the guy had media access. So far, the WNBA hasn't made a statement, but it's definitely a mess. WNBA commentator Stephen A. Smith called out the racist fan and showed his support for Clark. On the flip side, players like Angel Reese and Brittany Griner have also shared their thoughts. Angel mentioned she's been dealing with harassment from Clark's fans for the past 2 years. Griner, on the other hand, is pushing for the league to take faster action when it comes to toxic fan behavior. Speaking of Angel Reese, let's shift gears. Last night, news dropped that her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, was fired from the Chicago Sky, and Angel's heartbroken. She tweeted about how much Weatherspoon meant to her, saying she was the only one who believed in her and supported her through a tough time in her life. What do you guys think about all this? If Caitlin Clark is the star of the WNBA, things are about to get tough for the league once she's out of the playoffs. The reality is, the WNBA is in for a wake-up call. When Clark was out, ratings plummeted from 1.8 million viewers to just 161,000. Definitely concerning for Kathy Engelbert and the league. Clark's presence this season boosted everything: merchandise, ticket sales, and TV viewership. The Indiana Fever, once barely relevant, became playoff contenders, and her games consistently sold out. But now, here's the issue. Without Clark, the WNBA is struggling. Not a single playoff game has even reached 500,000 viewers in her absence. Without her star power, the league is left facing empty arenas and tanking ratings. It's become clear they put all their hopes on Clark, and now they're feeling the effects. Clark's influence extended beyond just the Fever. She set records in points, assists, and triple-doubles, and her energy lifted the whole league. Attendance shot up by 156%, TV ratings nearly tripled, and merchandise sales skyrocketed. She even drew in fans who had never paid attention to women's basketball before. But now that she's out, the league is facing a tough reality. Remember those packed arenas for her games? Without her, the venues are half full, and the excitement is gone. Even the top teams can't pull in 500,000 viewers. The WNBA is staring down not just a major drop in fan engagement, but a financial loss too. The NBA pours $200 million into the WNBA every year just to keep it going. But compared to the NBA's $3 billion in revenue, the WNBA's earnings are minimal. What's even more shocking is that the league hasn't properly marketed Clark. There have been no big commercials or major marketing campaigns. It's like they're hiding their biggest asset. So what happens now? The WNBA needs to develop more stars, build rivalries, and create storylines that don't rely entirely on Clark. The league can't sit around waiting for the next big name to show up and save them. It's time for change, and fast. Can the WNBA survive without Caitlin Clark? Or is this the start of a serious decline for women's pro basketball? Caitlin Clark has some big news that's sure to create a stir in the WNBA. But let's face it, are we really surprised? Many fans have been watching just to see her take charge in the league this season. Now, she's made the decision to step away for good. And honestly, who can blame her?
She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark said.
From the very beginning, this league didn't truly appreciate her talent. She took a team that had been largely unnoticed for 10 years and led them to the playoffs, set attendance records, increased ticket sales, and made her jersey a top seller. So what did she receive in return? A cheap eye poke, some shoulder hits, a loss by 6 points, technical fouls, unfounded claims of racism, and a label as a rude player.
What I am upset about is like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
If that's the kind of treatment you receive for making the league entertaining, I'd walk away too. But do you know what really drove her to this breaking point and led her to announce her decision? What did she say that made it clear she's entirely finished? Let me provide you with all the details.
Those guys, they're the racists, when really, y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
You could sense it brewing from a distance. Caitlin Clark's frustration had been accumulating for weeks. However, the tipping point occurred when the Indiana Fever faced a heartbreaking defeat against the Connecticut Sun.
She's just not built for the physicality of this league. And she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality,
resulting in their elimination from the playoffs. In a close game that ended with a score of 87-81, Clark played as if everything depended on it, contributing 29 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds, essentially trying to shoulder the entire team. But here's the catch. Her teammates appeared to be asleep. While Clark was out there performing like a one-woman army, her team struggled, missing shots and committing rookie errors.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
Let's kick things off with Temi Fagbani. Where do I even start? Her performance was nothing short of a disaster. She made some critical errors, including a shot clock violation at a crucial moment when the Fever were trying to gain momentum. When she wasn't just standing around looking confused, she went 0 for 3, practically gifting the ball back to the Sun. Honestly, don't you agree with Gino when he said,
"Yeah, but she needs to be on a better team."
But hold on, because Victoria Vivians didn't perform any better. As a veteran who should excel under pressure, she instead chose to go missing, scoring only 6 points with a shooting percentage of 2 for 10. Seriously, 2 out of 10? She wasn't just missing, she was clanking wide open opportunities that even I could have made. Then there's Kelsey Mitchell, usually a reliable scorer, who picked the absolute worst moment to disappear. She ended with 9 points on 3 of 12 shooting. For someone who was expected to be one of Indiana's top scorers, she appeared completely lost, hesitating and passing up shots. When she finally did take a shot, they turned into air balls. It was like she had stage fright just when the Fever needed her to step up.
Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA.
Watching everything unravel around Clark while she was giving it her all was painful. Each time she made a clutch, three-pointer, or executed an amazing play, her teammates seemed to fumble, handing the ball back to the Sun and giving Clark that helpless look, as if to say, "Oops, my bad." You could see it in her body language. Every missed shot and turnover felt like a punch to the gut. It's not that she didn't show up. She played a full 40 minutes of relentless, high-intensity basketball, pouring everything into the game, and yet it still wasn't sufficient.
It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine.
As the final buzzer went off and Clark stood there with her shoulders slumped, staring at the scoreboard, it became evident that this was more than just a loss. It was a realization, a wake-up call that no matter how hard she fought, how many shots she made, or how many plays she executed, it wouldn't matter without a team that could genuinely support her. This wasn't merely the end of a playoff journey, it signified the end of her patience.
If Caitlin Clark is the quote-unquote savior, if she's the golden girl, milk it.
Reality is knocking on the door of the porta potty. The truth is finally coming to the light. The same light that is going to be dimming here in about 12 hours when Caitlin Clark is eliminated from the playoff.
The entire WNBA was almost in shock when Caitlin Clark revealed her big news. She's not just stepping away from the league, she's moving to Europe. That's correct. The most exciting rookie the WNBA has ever witnessed is packing her bags and saying, "I'm out." Can you really falter after enduring all the relentless pressure, cheap shots, and endless nonsense? Clark has decided it's time to hit the reset button. This announcement came just days after the Indiana Fever's tough playoff exit against the Connecticut Sun, and honestly, it's not unexpected. After elevating her team to relevance without any support, this was bound to happen.
There were regular season games this season where Caitlin Clark drew more than 1.8 million viewers. However, I hope Kat Engelbert is ready for disappointment because
will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not.
Wheels around, evades Van Lith, and drains it. My goodness.
Iowa, she did everything. You know, however many shots you want to take, whatever you want to do with the ball, you can do. It's just a different ball game.
If you've been watching Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, you'll notice she's still hitting all those incredible shots she made back at Iowa, wowing fans and packing arenas like never before. It's almost like Cheryl Swoops never saw her play, because as great as Clark is at shooting, the real magic happens when she passes the ball.
You have some players like an Aaliyah Boston, an Alyssa Smith, a Kelsey Mitchell, like they gotta have a rock.
Take a look at the list of players she just mentioned, then check out Caitlin Clark's assist numbers and tell me those players aren't getting the ball. Oh, and by the way, Clark just broke the record for most assists in a season. Not just a rookie record, but the overall WNBA record. On top of that, Kelsey Mitchell is hitting career highs across the board. It wasn't just Swoops. Other WNBA vets also thought Clark was in for a tough reality check.
Reality is coming. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time.
The only real issue earlier this season was the cheap shots other players were taking at Caitlin Clark. Sure, some rookie welcome to the league moments are expected, but things like Carter's hip check could have seriously injured her. Neck, back, twisted ankle, you name it. Plays like that need to stop for the good of the game and the league's future. Since the players came back from the Olympic break, Clark has led the Fever to their first postseason, ending the longest playoff drought in WNBA history. If we look at the last 12 games, Clark and her talented teammates have gone 8, 4, securing the 6th seed. One thing that stands out is how much better she shoots from the left wing, especially off the catch. It's her highest percentage shot, which makes sense since her arm motion aligns better on that side. And the crazy part is, most of these shots are on the move. She rarely has time to just stand still, receive a pass, and shoot. Clark is tough to guard because of her constant motion. She runs off double Ivan screens, snaps back to the ball off a pin down, and the defender makes the bold choice to go under the screen, which triggers a flare cut to the deep left wing. She barely has any space, but still drains the shot. You could see WNBA players wondering why her NCAA opponents weren't guarding her properly. It was like Clark was showing off when she hit her personal best of 7 threes against Brittany Sykes' Mystics. It turns out, stopping Clark from getting her shots off to the left is harder than people think, even for seasoned WNBA vets. And against Diamond D Shields and the Chicago Sky, she hit 2 threes going left, with defenders right in her face. The Fever run some great plays to capitalize on her left side. For example, the cross screen leaves her defender under the screen, first mistake. Then, the handoff causes 2 defenders to get tangled up, and the final screen by Boston leaves Clark wide open to knock down a beautiful shot. When it comes to her passing, Clark is creating over 5 layups per game for her teammates, which is just wild. The biggest beneficiary is Aaliyah Boston. They've got a nice play where Boston slips the ball screen on the left side, then gets a double staggered screen across the lane, allowing Clark to deliver a perfect pass for an easy bucket. In a similar setup, Clark gets a ball screen at the top while Boston uses her body to shield the defender and finishes with a soft touch off the glass. Their bread and butter is the pick and roll. Since Clark draws both defenders, Boston often gets open shots right at the rim. Boston uses her size to spin around smaller defenders for easy layups, and when they reverse the ball screen on the left side, it's the same result. Boston's defender has to hedge because of Clark's shooting threat, but Clark's wraparound pass finds Boston perfectly. She even spins the ball just right so it lands in Boston's hands, allowing her to finish away from the defender. Just perfect execution. They've developed a killer 2-woman game at the top of the key. Flattening the chemistry between Clark and Mitchell has been fantastic. They connect so often on that classic dribbleness. Mitchell easily beats her defender. Add Clark's vision and pinpoint passing to the mix, and you get a lot of frustrated coaches on the other side who, despite preparing for this, still get burned. Where they're especially dangerous is in transition. Mitchell is one of the fastest players in the league, and if the defense doesn't hustle back early, Clark is going to find her with one of those signature 50-foot passes for easy layups. Putting pressure on the defense early like that also softens it up, making it easier for Clark to get into her deep shooting game with less resistance. The Indiana Fever delivered an unforgettable game. Picture this: Caitlin Clark, the rookie who's been making waves in the league, played all 45 minutes of a game that went into overtime. Yep, 45 minutes straight. And that's just the start. Clark win over the Atlanta Dream. She also became the fastest player in WNBA history to hit 300 career assists. But that's not all. Her teammate, Aaliyah Boston, had the best game of her career on the very same night. The first quarter was electric, with the Fever and Dream trading baskets right from the jump. Clark showed she was locked in early, sinking a 3-pointer within the first few minutes.
Boston gets it back to Clark, sidesteps Howard, she will launch and knock down a 3.
The Atlanta Dream wasn't backing down, with Rhyne Howard answering back with her own sharp shooting. By the end of the first quarter, the Fever had a narrow 22-21 lead, setting the stage for a closely contested game. In the second quarter, things heated up even more. The Dream, led by Howard and Alicia Gray, pulled ahead by 6 points. But the Fever weren't going down easily. Lexi Hull stepped up, sinking 2 clutch 3-pointers to keep them in the fight. Despite their efforts, the Dream managed to take control, going into halftime with a 48-44 lead. If you thought it was intense by then, the third quarter kicked things up a notch. The Dream extended their lead to 16 points, and it seemed like the Fever were losing their grip. But this is where Caitlin Clark and her squad worked their magic. Clark started finding her rhythm, making pinpoint assists and draining crucial shots. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston dominated the boards, grabbing key rebounds and converting them into points. By the end of the third quarter, the Fever had cut the lead to just 3 points, with the score at 69-66 in favor of the Dream. The fourth quarter was one of the most thrilling moments of the season. It was a battle between two determined teams. Clark continued to lead the Fever's offense with precision, while Boston was unstoppable around the basket. The game was tied multiple times in the closing minutes. With 18 seconds left, Boston hit a huge shot to tie the game at 90, sending it into overtime. Overtime was pure intensity. Clark and Boston kept up their dominance, but the Dream fought back hard. It was a back-and-forth exchange of baskets right up until the final seconds. In the end, Clark's composure at the free throw line sealed the Fever's 104-100 victory. This game showed just how much the Indiana team is growing, and with the playoffs on the horizon, they're showing some promising signs. What can we even say about Clark that hasn't been said already? Well, here's one for you. She played all 45 minutes of the game. Unreal, right? But the numbers back it up. Clark wrapped up the night with 26 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds. That's not just a double-double, it's complete court control. And the biggest highlight? She became the fastest player in WNBA history to hit 300 career assists. We're talking about a rookie shattering records that seemed untouchable. Her court vision is something else. If Clark was the conductor, Aaliyah Boston was the unstoppable force. Boston had the game of her career, dropping 30 points and grabbing 13 rebounds. Another double-double, but more than that, it was pure dominance. She was a force in the paint, turning Clark's assists into easy buckets and creating second chances with her offensive rebounding. Boston was incredibly efficient, hitting 11 out of 16 shots. And let's not forget Kelsey Mitchell. While Clark and Boston were stealing the show, Mitchell quietly had a standout game herself, with 21 points and a solid 50% shooting. She was the quiet but critical third piece of the puzzle, delivering when the Fever needed it most. Mitchell showed why she's one of the top shooters in the league, sinking clutch shots to help seal the victory. The trio of Clark running the show, Boston owning the paint, and Mitchell hitting from the outside is a combination that could take the Fever deep into the playoffs. And speaking of playoffs, with performances like this, the Fever are proving they're not just here to make up the numbers, they're here to compete for a title. A key moment in the game came in the third quarter when the Dream opened up a 16-point lead. That could have been the moment many teams threw in the towel, but not the Fever, and definitely not Clark. She loaded up with 2 quick assists to Boston. Just like that, the 16-point gap started to shrink. This was where Clark's championship mentality really showed. She had flashes of brilliance, some adversity, and overcoming challenges. But most of all, WNBA faced some early controversy just 90 seconds into the first playoff game of 2024, when the Indiana Fever took on the Connecticut Sun in their best-of-3 series. Things escalated quickly when Caitlin Clark, the unanimous Rookie of the Year, ended up with a black eye. The incident happened when Connecticut guard Dejanai Carrington appeared to accidentally poke Clark in the eye. Despite Clark clearly being in pain and falling to the ground, no foul was called, which sparked an outcry from fans on social media. Many accused Carrington of foul play, claiming the move was intentional. Even Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy weighed in, tweeting, "Why does the WNBA let players wear gigantic nails if they use them as weapons? We're lucky Caitlin didn't lose an eye. No foul call, and she had to play with one eye the rest of the game." Clark, despite the injury, continued playing, but had one of her toughest games since joining the WNBA. She shot just 3.5%, going 4 for 17 from the field, including 2 for 11 from beyond the arc. The Fever, unable to rally behind their star, suffered a tough 93-69 loss to Connecticut, putting them on the verge of elimination. Kelsey Mitchell's 21 points and Aaliyah Boston's 11 rebounds were among the few highlights for Indiana. On the other side, Connecticut was led by Marina Mabrey's 27 points and Alyssa Thomas's 15th career triple-double as they controlled the game from start to finish. Despite the rough game, Clark didn't blame her eye injury for the performance. After briefly sitting on the bench following the poke, she decided to push through the pain and played 36 minutes, contributing 8 assists. However, her shooting struggles were hard to ignore. In the post-game press conference, Clark refused to place blame on Carrington, taking full responsibility for the missed shots and acknowledging her difficult game. Her determination to keep playing says a lot about her resilience, but fans are still left wondering if the eye injury played a bigger role in her off night. It remains to be seen if Clark and the Fever can bounce back and avoid an early
today. Anytime the head is hit, they usually call it. And, she gets her really hard there. Any contact above the shoulders.
Angel Reese hit Caitlin Clark right on the head and ended up getting benched for it. To be honest, this situation isn't as glamorous or joyful for Clark as it might seem. The physical demands and the pressure of expectations, both on and off the court, have been tough. Adding to that, the stress from social media and various conspiracies has made things even harder. Clark talked about how challenging it all has been.
Younger than that at times, and I'm trying to navigate moving to a new city by myself. I'm trying to navigate, playing in a new league on top of everything else that has come with it. And
in the midst of all the chaos, Caitlin Clark is trying to stay calm. It's definitely not easy or delightful. The world keeps pulling her into the whirlwind. Over just a few years in the spotlight, Clark's story has evolved from a fun narrative about a record-breaking college basketball scorer who brought new attention to women's basketball, to discussions about race, sexuality, fame, money, and opportunity. Then, it shifted back to concerns about her turnover numbers early in her first WNBA season. Clark highlighted the importance of focusing on mental health and emphasized that seeking help is crucial. "I can achieve everything in my life," she said. "I'm not afraid to ask for help and to tell people, today is just not my day, and that's okay. Not every day has to be perfect."
I think it's something that a lot of people in our country struggle with, especially young individuals. And, I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help.
The concern isn't just about Clark herself. Tennis star Serena Williams recently praised Caitlin Clark for handling early success well despite social media negativity. Speaking to the New York Post at the Tribeca Festival about her docuseries In the Arena, Serena was asked about Caitlin. Serena responded, "I just love that she tries to stay grounded." She mentioned that Caitlin avoids looking at her social media. Sharing some advice with Caitlin, Serena said,
"If people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do, basically, and hopefully she'll continue to do what she's doing."
Relating to Clark's tough early career days, Serena Williams shared her own experiences with similar negativity as a young tennis star. "I was bullied," Serena said. "Things I went through would get people canceled now." Earlier this year, Serena expressed interest in owning a WNBA team while talking to CNN. "I would definitely be super interested with the right market," she reiterated. "We just need the right catalyst and people. And I think that's happening over the past 2 years. Women's sports are finally having their moment." Big stars like Serena recognize Caitlin Clark's unprecedented rise to fame. She's one of the most popular athletes on the planet, and she hasn't even played her first WNBA game. In her first 14 games, Clark is on track to win Rookie of the Year, averaging 15.6 points on 36.7% shooting, 32.2% from three, 4.9 rebounds, and 6 assists. However, she's also facing intense physicality and committing a league-high 5.5 turnovers per game. Amid all the attention, fans are concerned about her mental health and well-being. Being famous has its perks, but at just 22 years old, there's worry about whether Clark can handle the long-term pressure. In ESPN's Full Court Press series, Clark admitted she sometimes wishes she were normal, because all the attention and press can be draining. "There are days when you don't want to talk to everyone," Clark said, "but someone comes up to you, and this is their 10-second interaction with you, so you better smile and be kind. But sometimes, you just want to be normal." Despite the pressure, Caitlin Clark seems to be handling it well so far. But with her fame expected to rise, fans are concerned about her mental health. Life as a celebrity has its downsides, but the pros often make it worth it. At 22, Clark's exciting journey in the world of basketball and celebrity continues. The latest chapter took place on Sunday in front of a sold-out crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. There, she faced Angel Reese, a Chicago Sky rookie familiar with high-profile showdowns against Clark. They had a heated battle in the 2023 NCAA National Championship game, where Reese's LSU Tigers defeated Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes famously mocking Clark's "you can't see me" hand motion. Clark and Iowa got their revenge when they knocked out Reese and LSU in this year's Elite Eight in April. Attendance and merchandise sales spiked, and everyone assumed the latest Clark-Reese game would set viewership records. "I think it's the emotion and passion we play with," Clark said. "That's something that wasn't always appreciated about women's sports. And it should be. It makes it fun. We're competitors. And that's how the game should be. It's going to get feisty and physical, but both teams are just trying to win." In their second professional meeting, the Fever earned a 91-83 win, with Clark delivering her best all-around performance of her 15-game career. She scored 23 points on 11 shots, adding 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 blocked shots. In a dramatic turn, Reese hit Clark across the head, sending her to the floor as she attempted to block Clark's layup in the third quarter, earning Reese a flagrant foul. Clark's reaction was unexpectedly composed. "What's going through my mind is, I need to make these 2 free throws," she said. "That's all I'm thinking about. It's just part of basketball. It is what it is. She's just trying to make a play on the ball and get the block. It happens.